Hello wonderful people! More than 1 year after Dark Souls 3's release, there are still a lot of things that aren't thoroughly explored in the game, and that really says a lot about the quality of the game. In this series, we try to make some odd builds with a combination of different gear and stats, and try to succeed with them. So, let's begin. Build number 1. The Dragon Archer. Using a bow and arrow playstyle was never really a big thing in the Dark Souls series. They were always a complementary tool to your main build. Having a bow only as your primary weapon is a totally different matter, and it's the most requested build from my subscribers. And as you expect, here you have it, my friends. It was way better than I originally thought, but it requires a lot of dedication. There are two types of bows: normal bows and great bows. The normal bows have two subtypes. First is the normal bows we all know and love. They are very similar to all bows we saw across the series, with the addition of weapon arts. The second subtype is what I like to call fast bows. They do everything the normal bows do, but with the addition of running, rolling, and backstepping attacks, which is similar to normal weapons. These additional abilities make them way more practical, especially in PvP where timing is crucial. The fast bows have lower damage in general than normal bows. That's their biggest disadvantage. However, they can hit stuff reliably, which cannot be said for the normal bows. There are three fast bows: short bow, composite bow, and the white birch bow. The short bow and the white birch bow lean almost exclusively to dexterity, while the composite bow is mostly a quality weapon. No matter how much you play with the stats, the composite bow has the highest damage between all three with a quality build. Even if you go 99 dexterity, the other two bows can't catch up to this one. So the composite bow is what we will roll with on this build. When it comes to arrows, the large arrow are your best friend, and it's our main arrows. The secondary arrows can be anything of your choice. In PvP, the dark arrows are good, plus they have slight homing capabilities. Now let's see the equipment we need to make this build even more deadly. The Hawk Ring is always a good ring for bow builds. It gives you more damage over range, so your damage output would be very consistent up to mid-range. The Leo Ring is another obvious choice. Arrows deal thrust damage. Leo Ring increases the damage of thrust attacks when getting a counter hit, which means every time you hit something during its attacking animation, you get way more damage. As I said before, fast bows do little damage in general, so anything that pushes the damage is very welcome on this build, and that's why we have the Flynn Ring equipped. The less stuff you have equipped, the more damage the Flynn Ring gives you. That's why we are literally naked on this build, no armor equipped. The damage increase is big and much needed for this build. The last ring we need is the Red Tear Stone Ring. You get more damage once your HP goes low. It's kinda a last resort thing where our damage gets insanely high once our HP drops. This opens up a lot of situations where you can easily make a comeback. That's why we also have the Moroyan Blade equipped on our left hand. It also gives more damage when your HP is low. When the Red Tear Stone Ring and the Moroyan Blade are stacked, you'll do about 40% more damage per attack. Getting a counter hit usually gives 30% more damage. The Leo Ring gives 50% extra for a total of 45% on counter damage. So if you get a counter attack with low HP, you'll essentially deal almost 100% more damage. That's not even mentioning the dragon buff, which you can also stack with your damage. The reason we go dragon is since we have no armor, there is no reason not to go dragon. This also keeps our equip load under 30%, which gives us the best and fastest roll. So the Dragon Archer is super fast, can punish from range. Its most valued attack is the rolling attack, mains a bow but can use the Moroyan Blade when needed, and its biggest enemy are good shielded enemies. All this gives you a super fun, high risk, high reward archer build. Build number 2. The Mad King. This build revolves around the crucifix of the Mad King, which is found in the Ring City. It's a super unique weapon in the game. I rarely see it in the PvP scene, although it's one of the most powerful weapons in the game. I think the reason it's underused is that people don't really know how to use its weapon arts, and also chimes and talismans work in stupid ways when it comes to dark damage, so people understandably don't bother with it. Its damage output is definitely top tier though. It's a strength faith weapon, so these are the two stats that we will focus on. The Crucifix of the Mad King is one of those odd weapons where you cannot infuse it, yet you can buff it with spells, and since it has inherent dark damage, the Dark Blade spell buff is your best option. It's actually the first time I can ever think of in Dark Souls 3 where the Dark Blade is actually preferred over Dark Moon Blade and the Lightning Blade. When you buff it with Dark Blade, the damage output is unstoppable. You reach about the 800 damage mark, which is insane by any standard in Dark Souls 3. In PvE, you can even add the Dark Clutch ring to further maximize your damage. When I first rocked this build, I had a tough time using it. It felt slow and hard to hit people with the weapon, but as I played with it more, I just saw how powerful this weapon can be. I mean, the damage you can do with it seems to be unbelievable at times, especially when you two-shot somebody with it. The reason I got better with it is because it took me some time to realize how powerful its weapon art is. When you trigger the weapon art, you get this smash that doesn't consume any focus points, which essentially makes it an extra attack in your arsenal, and as I discovered, it's the most important attack in your arsenal. It gives you more hyper armor than any other attack by a long shot. It feels like you get Great Hammer hyper armor with this attack. It does a lot of damage too. You can trade with it easily, and most importantly is that it connects to the actual weapon art. So if you get the weapon art attack, then you press the heavy attack after that, you will connect the two attacks together, which usually results in your opponent's death. The actual weapon art has 3 different outcomes that solely depends on luck. You might get a screaming attack that does damage in the nearby vicinity with the extra perk of knocking down anybody in its path. This is your best outcome in most cases. It might also give you perseverance, just like the mace, so you receive less damage while also being able to trade with ease. The last outcome is a suicidal dark orb. It will trigger an explosion after a couple of seconds, which can hit you too, by the way, and anybody around you. You can roll through it when timed right, so if you master the timing, this can be another super unique way of damaging your opponent. One other thing that makes this weapon even more formidable is its top tier heavy attack, which was only found on the Great Club before, which is kinda unique since the Crucifix of the Mad King is a halberd but has a Great Hammer heavy attack. When you put all the things together, from its inherent dark damage, to buffing it with Dark Blade through Yorshka's Chime, to its super powerful weapon arts, makes it one of the most unique weapons in the game. Build number 3. Guinevere's Servant Knight. I have done a regeneration build before in the series, but nothing is as powerful as this one, and nothing regenerates more HP than this build from what I have seen, while still being super deadly. So you need the normal regeneration stuff. That's why we use Anri's Straightsword, which by the way makes this a luck/faith build. Anri's Straightsword gives us HP regeneration, we have the regen ring too. Our biggest asset is the Bountiful Sunlight spell, which gives 10 HP per tick. Now here is the trick that wasn't possible before the Ring City DLC. Filianor's Chime's weapon art gives HP regeneration like all other chimes, but with one exception. It can regenerate your HP even if it's not on your hand. So we can use it, then we switch to another chime and use its weapon art too, and yes, they stack, which is insane. Rocking Filianor's Chime and any other chime alone is a big regen boost for any build, but you know, we want to take that to the extreme. So now we have the regen ring, Anri's sword, 2 chime weapon arts active, and Bountiful Sunlight. This way you can regenerate all of your HP in a very short period of time. You will think I will also add Blessed Weapon buff on Anri's sword for even more HP regeneration, but no, we really don't need it. We will instead use the Dark Moon Blade buff on Anri's sword. This way we have a super strong offensive while retaining insane amounts of HP regeneration. What I truly like about this build is that it doesn't need all the buffs from the beginning of the fight. You do them gradually during the fight. I start with Bountiful Sunlight, then Filianor's weapon art buff, then I engage. As soon as I have space, I will use the Dark Moon Blade buff. Then as soon as I have space again, I use Yorshka's Chime weapon art buff. After that, I will keep using both Filianor and Yorshka's Chime weapon art during the fight since they are so fast to pull off. If you're playing very seriously with this build, you can become unkillable since you regenerate like a madman while also having a straight sword, which is the best class in the game. It's also buffed with Dark Moon Blade. I mean, this build cannot get any more tryhard, to be honest. I just wanted to see how far we can push a regen build while being deadly at the same time, and here you see the result. It's crazy. So these are all the builds in this video. I just want to thank all of you for your constant support of this series. Without your support, I won't be doing it, so I'm very grateful and happy that people enjoy it. So that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Farewell.